Hi, and welcome to another episode of D-Link TV DIY. I'm Mike, and I'm here to show you how to use your network and add things to it. Today, we're going to go backwards a little bit, and I'm going to show you a little bit of network maintenance. Now, you know that we had discussed previously that the router is the heart of your network, if you will, and we want to keep that heart healthy just like we would your real heart. We do that through firmware upgrades. Firmware upgrades can be anything from performance enhancements, maybe we've added features to the product, or things like right now our routers are on draft 802.11n, and when the final standard is ratified, there will be a firmware upgrade for that. So, you know, it's fairly simple to do, but one of the most important things is you want to back up your configuration information before you start. That way you don't have to redo everything. So let's start by identifying what firmware version our router has and then get the latest firmware from the D-Link support site. Start by checking the firmware version that your router is running currently. If you log into your router, the default page that it goes to is the status page. The status page shows the firmware version and its date right in the middle of the page. But you can check the firmware version that you're running from just looking at the upper right-hand corner. So we're running version 1.10 of the firmware. So let's navigate to support.dlink.com, which is where we keep all of our firmwares for our latest products. Select which country you're in. I'm in the United States. And in the upper right corner, you see two little boxes. Select the D.I.Y. and then from the second box, 655. So just choose whichever product you have and click Go. Now looking at the list of firmwares, we can see that there is a new firmware version, 1.11. So all we want to do is download this firmware and save it to someplace that's going to be easy for you to remember. I have a downloads folder that I keep in my documents, and I just create a dir 655 directory there, and that way you can keep other things there as well that are related to the router, which we'll use in a little bit. Now that we've identified the firmware version that our router is running, before we upload the new firmware, which could potentially erase all of our settings, what we're going to want to do is back up the settings that are already on the router and save them someplace so that we can re-upload them after we've done the firmware. So let's back up the settings on our router right now. Start by logging back into your router so that we can back up the settings that are currently on it. You can get there by clicking on the Tools tab at the top and then the System button on the left. At the top of the page, you'll see Save Configuration button. Just click that and then save the file to that dir 655 folder that we created before, or whatever your router's name is. Hey, now that we've backed up the settings on our router, we're free to upload the new firmware to the latest version. So let's go ahead and upload the firmware. Now we can upload the firmware by clicking the firmware button on the left. And when you scroll down, you'll see a browse button that we can use to navigate to the folder we had created and the 1.11 firmware we had downloaded. Click the upload button, and the browser will ask if you're sure you want to do this and remind you to not do it wirelessly. Now the router will take a few seconds to reboot. Once that's done, if you log into your router, you will see that we have now uploaded version 1.11 of the firmware. So now that we've uploaded our new firmware and our device is up to the latest version, now we're going to re-upload the settings that we had backed up before so that we don't have to reconfigure everything. This is how that's done. Now we need to get our settings back. You can do that by clicking the Tools tab at the top and then the System button to the left. once again, browse to the folder that we had created earlier and your gateway settings file. Upload that, and your router will ask you if you want to reboot. It'll take a few seconds to reboot, measure your bandwidth, and now the last time, if we log back into the router, we will find that we are running version 1.11 of the software, and you now have an IP address from your ISP. So that's all there is to making sure that your router is running the latest firmware so that you know that you're getting the best performance, the most features, and in the case of 802.11n, you'll be standards compliant when that standard is finally ratified. So that's going to do it for this episode of D-Link TV DIY. I'm Mike, and we'll see you on the next episode.